All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday. Welcome to Hard Money in the Headlines with Jess and Sless. She's Jess. I'm Sless. Uh, and we're here. We're here to talk about hard money. Hopefully, my image doesn't freeze. We were just talking about that. Me getting stuck with some weird facial movement or the camera freezing because we've been having some issues. So if I get frozen, hopefully you're still hearing me, and Jess will take it and run with it. She's way better at this than I am anyway. So
I don't know about that. I don't know
what's
about that.
happening, Miss
Well,
Jess?
my inner kindergartner is like, your face freezes like that forever. Yes. I'm over here cracking jokes in my head. Not much. Busy as always. We've got a really awesome investor event coming up next week in Maryland. Really excited about that. I think we have over 70 people RSVP'd. It's a really fantastic opportunity for our investors. Just we get to see everybody, we get to touch base, but it's a great networking opportunity as well. And then, of course, we've been on the road, recently. So finished up a week in Florida, made it actually to South Carolina even, and Maryland as well. So been super busy, really busy first quarter, and here we are. Yeah. And you've been on the road as well, right?
Have been on the road, not quite as much as you. You're the road warrior upon us, but yeah, just got back from Kansas City last week. We were at the EOS conference, the Entrepreneur Operating System Conference. So Josh, our CEO, Josh Shine, and I were out there for a few days, just immersed in just entrepreneurial stuff. Right, there was 2,000 people, all walks of life, all different positions, from leadership all the way down. All different kinds of companies, and great networking, great opportunity to just connect with other business leaders and hear how their businesses are doing and what challenges they're dealing with, but to also just immerse ourselves in how to be better leaders for the organization, strategically, how to move the organization forward. A lot of talk about just open and honest dialogue. Are we being open and honest? Are we being communicative? Are we abiding by the core values that we run the business by? So a lot of it was just a reminder to keep doing what we're doing, which I think we do a pretty good job at. And some of it was just listening, learning, different tools, different ways to solve challenges and problems. A lot of talk about technology and AI, and I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout this conversation, Jess. And it was great, and some darn good Kansas City barbecue along the way, like some really good stuff. So yeah, for a few days.
That's awesome. Kansas City barbecue is fun. Having lived in both Kansas City. Fun fact about Jessica, I've lived in Kansas City while my husband attended staff war college out at Leavenworth, and I lived in Texas. So I've been to two barbecue epicenters, and barbecue, it's very different based off where you live. So yeah.
So what's your preference?
I don't know. Yes.
Right, so the
final answer, all the above. It's all good.
A little bit sweeter, richer sauce, darker sauce. I myself, a little bit more of a fan of the Carolina barbecue, more vinegar based, not necessarily the sugar molasses based. But I tell you what, we pulled up to this one restaurant, Joe's in Kansas City, which is like apparently the barbecue restaurant in Kansas City. The Uber dropped us off in the back of the restaurant. We walk around to the front of the restaurant, and the sea of humanity went as far as you could possibly see. The line had to be at least an hour and a half. Called an Uber, went to another barbecue place, and had the best barbecue that we've ever had in my entire life. I can't imagine how good Joe's must have been if people were waiting 90 minutes. But good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yes, it's all good. I'm curious. So, I mean, you gave kind of a good just overview about EOS and like the point of EOS, why we at Trius Lending Partners utilize EOS, as a framework to work through all sorts of, issues or challenges with the business, personnel, all that kind of stuff, and internal pressures and external pressures. But you touched on technology. And I mean, the big looming, we talked about, I think the last Jess and Sless, we even talked about kind of AI and our increased efforts in 2026 to utilize AI in different fashions. And that's a huge effort we're doing. But like, were there any themes that really resonated for you and Josh? Was there any kind of specific takeaway that made you think about AI and EOS and our business differently or anything like that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, as you would expect, right? There was probably no short of 5 different breakout sessions centered around
Hmm.
technology and AI. Every tech platform that's there presenting and selling their tech platforms now have AI adoptions. And it's a race to who's implementing AI fastest, which AI. Are they using ChatGPT integrations or Claude or Gemini? It's a lot of conversation centered around this. And Josh and I are just drinking it all in the whole time because we're total AI nerds at this point, as you know. Uh, and I think it's important to just understand it and understand where do we fit AI within the infrastructure of our business. And we've had a lot of wins on the technology AI front in recent months. Underwriting being probably chief among them. We are
Hmm.
using AI and automations specifically to better underwrite deals, read documents in a much more streamlined fashion, helping with valuations of properties, helping to source comps, compare comps. So we're really dialed in to how can we implement AI and get the little wins, right? Because I think every
Hmm.
organization out there is trying to figure out what does AI mean for us, and it can be
Yeah.
pretty intimidating. Our approach here, and it seems like the approach from a lot of the companies that we talk to at the EOS conference is just little wins along the way, implementing it in increments across different departments throughout the organization, not trying to bite off more than you can chew. Because and you also have to understand too, the AI is changing so rapidly that you got to be careful setting up a framework or infrastructure around AI that is only going to change because the AI changes in 2 weeks or 30 days. So we're cautious, we're
Hmm.
optimistic, but we're certainly using it to speed up our business. And as you know, Jess, in the world of hard money, there's nothing more important than speed. So definitely been AI wins over the past few weeks for us.
Awesome. That's interesting. We were prepping just real quickly before, obviously we went live and we were talking about stuff and I made like the offhand comment, well, everything's changing and nothing's changing all at the same time, as it relates to both AI and then of course just everything going on in the world today, right? And I think it's interesting because to your point, AI is and will be so impactful. And yet the fundamentals of our business and who we are and what we do and what we have to offer is as is the same as ever, right? And it's trying to improve upon that, become faster, do better underwriting, look at, always be analyzing what could we have done better, but yet the basics are still the basics. So it's the integration of AI.
Look,
That's interesting.
if a normal underwrite for us takes a couple hours, right? Can we cut that time by 25%? Can we cut that time by
Hmm.
33%? And what does that do for our borrower, right? And we're always
Hmm.
trying to look at it through the lens of our value proposition, which is fast, flexible, reliable. How does AI
Hmm.
make us faster? How does it make us more flexible? Does it catch things in underwriting?
Hmm.
I believe it does, right? I believe it's always going to catch more than a human being is going to do. And from a reliability standpoint, if we're better at what we do, we are going to execute and be better and more reliable for our investors, for our borrowers, for our team members. So we're really bullish on it. I know there's a lot of skepticism around AI, and does it take people's jobs, and who does it replace, and who has to be afraid of it? We've really immersed ourselves in it, and we're looking at it from the standpoint of how does it make our people better? How
Right.
do they do their jobs better? How do they do jobs more efficiently? And how much more can we do if technology is a partner, not an adversary for us?
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. That's interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So
So
carrying forward,
yeah,
everything's changing and nothing's changing at once. There's a lot of headlines, Steve.
a lot of
Pick
headlines.
one.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
seems like
pick
we
a
were just
headline.
here. Seems like we were just here. I don't know. It's been a month. It seems like only a few days, and boy, the
Right.
headlines come quick. So, what are you
Yeah.
seeing? What are you seeing in the headlines, Jess? And let's have some robust conversation. And by the way, if you're listening, uh, feel free to chime in, please. Right? Send questions in, comment. We want to hear from you. Jess and I try to come on here and provide as much value as we can, but let us know: are we providing value, and what do you want to hear from us, and what questions can we possibly answer? So
Yeah.
chime in.
Chime in for sure. I mean, real quickly, I would not want to spend too much time. I don't think there's too much to be said. But we talk about it typically, and it is because it's impactful under the guise of everything's changing and nothing's changing. Interest rates, the Fed meets right now. When we woke up this morning, interest rates were really unchanged and are pretty much holding steady. I would pretty much expect that. I think the market is really not expecting any meaningful or impactful change, decrease or increase immediately. Pressures, of course, of inflation, and we can get into that. The Strait of Hormuz situation and the naval blockade, as that could impact inflation, but coupled with potentially slowing GDP and, trying to spur the economy, like these two factors counterbalance each other. My personal take, and who am I, but is that I don't expect any major change from where we're at. What do you think? Concur, non-concur?
Concur. I mean, for our day-to-day business, not much change, right?
Yeah,
If oil prices continue to remain high, what does that do to cost of goods, and what does that do, down chain to the folks that we lend the money to? And they're looking at it from the perspective of, well, does that take my cost up 10%? Does that take my cost up 15%? Right? You're
right.
active in real estate investing, Jess. So I'll turn it right around and ask you. I mean, what are you seeing price wise? For us, look, interest rates really don't matter, particularly on the hard
Yeah,
money side. Our rates are determined by our cost of capital. Our cost of capital does not change. The amount that we take in money from investors does not change, right? So we dictate our own rates. Our rates are uncorrelated to markets. On our long-term loans, those interest rates on the DSCR product specifically, they have more to do with going interest rates. But the hard money is the core of our business, and those rates remain unaffected no matter what the economy does. What does
hmm
matter the most is what are our borrowers experiencing, and how much more is it going to cost them to renovate a home or renovate a commercial project. So what are you seeing on that front?
yeah. So cost of input factors as it relates, really, regardless if you're doing a fix or flip or a buy and hold. We've talked about a bunch of these factors over, a lot of these like live sessions or webinars or anything. So we've talked about everything. Most recently, I think we had touched on just the inflationary aspects that had gone on with insurance or even property taxes, that we'd seen, really recent increases in both of those. Of course, after, COVID and the impacts of the COVID effect on the labor market, we'd really seen the price of labor go up. And now I think we're going to also, and that had been coupled with materials, but I think we're going to continue to see inflationary pressures on material input costs and cost of goods sold, really kind of stuff, as it could relate to just the products going into fix and flip or buy and hold. So I think there's a lot of decision making while you're in the project itself. For example, anecdotally, today I chose to not do quartz countertops. I'm going to do laminate. I really don't think that the impact to the project as a whole is going to be meaningful, but I need to shave off some money. I'm already way over on this particular project, and of course interest rates are not going down. So this one's one I'm going to hold. I'm going to keep it, and I kind of know where my interest rate's going to be, and it's going to be tight. But if I had a word for all of this, and I need to give credits, a flipper I really look up to. He's out here on the West Coast, and he's done hundreds of millions of dollars in flips out here in the greater Seattle area. And I was watching some of his content, and he was talking about partnership, and really, as you navigate contractors, if you're a borrower with us, working with us to really look at the project as a whole and make sure it's successful. So even your suppliers, and really having your head on a swivel as it relates to all aspects of the project, controlling every aspect you can, and reanalyzing every project. So I just talked about a number of things that are a little more challenging, cost of input and goods. But I'll say this: the flip side to this story is that I had a property also recently turn over, right? So we had a tenant leave, and it had been rented out for 2 years. So it's the first time I don't tend on a personal level to increase rents too much year over year with tenants. I really do that kind of at turnover. I was really expecting the rent to be materially similar, or the same as to what I had rented that property out for 2 years ago. It was not. It was about a 10% increase based on market comps. That is significant. And that impacts both the performance of that individual property. But when I'm looking at other properties or I'm looking at offers and I want to buy and hold it, well, then my numbers, my input can be a little bit higher. I can actually maybe pay for some of the additional costs it takes to rehab or improve a property because I'm going to be able to rent it for more. So I think it's really partnership at all levels. Partnership, like I said, with a lender, partnership with a property manager. If you've got that, I recommend it. If that's definitely a profession, and making sure that you are pulling good true comps, partnerships with suppliers, vendors, and of course my general contractor, partner with him. He's a really important part of our team. So head on a swivel, looking at everything and being really month to month. That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, it was all really, really relevant and really valuable. And I think the fascinating thing about you, Jess, is your day-to-day role here in running and overseeing and heading up investor relations and our capital markets and all, our REO and all that you do. But you're also on the front lines, right? You are fixing up properties, flipping properties,
Cutting
buying
the checks.
properties. You are in
Yeah.
it, and there's nobody more passionate and immersed in it than you. And so, another question I wanted to ask you, which parlays into your last answer, was we see, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, right? Our clients getting very emotional about their properties that they're looking to acquire, emotional about the values, emotional about the rehab, emotional because they have this dream of turning this property into something really special. You made a decision going with laminate countertops over quartz.
Mm-hmm.
How do you separate the emotions and the dream of I want this property to be this great thing and make all this money from the reality of I have to make sure my costs are in line. I have to keep this budget on target and on track. How do you separate the emotional component from the financial component? And how do you know when to just walk away from a deal?
Whew, that might be the most loaded question you've ever asked me on a live.
We're getting deep today on money in the headlines with Jess
Short answer, it's hard. And let me actually pull back a little bit, because we're talking about me as an investor, but money is emotional, right? And money is deeply personal. And I say this as the head of investor relations for Trius Lending Partners. I take my job so seriously because money represents so much to so many people. Freedom, hard work, years of dedication, and all sorts of stuff. So it is no different for our investors as it is for our borrowers. All of our borrowers, for example, have a down payment. Everybody has got some aspect of their personal funds into a deal. It's no different for me. So it is really hard to divorce yourself from emotions surrounding a specific property. This is what I would say. In the moment, it can and does all feel very heavy. And I would be disingenuous if I said, even within the last 2 weeks alone, I haven't had some hard moments where you really are questioning what's going on, what you're doing, and what it looks like and why. But I would say, if and whenever possible, the best thing you can do is zoom out. Because when you zoom out, even just 2 to 3 years, the power of real estate as a whole, and definitely once you take it even further out, 5-10 years, it is so impactful. And then I would use that zooming out to really framework decisions being made. Is a laminate countertop versus a quartz countertop, and this sort of kind of, not, this is a bad term, but good enough policy to perfection, is it materially impactful to the big picture? And the answer is no. It's absolutely functional. It's still really lovely. It's going to be an amazing, completely redone house. And it is the right decision in this moment based on the greater economic conditions and my personal budget or any borrower's budget. Zooming out, again, if in 5 years I want to replace it with a quartz countertop, that will be a business decision. And finally, this is a business, right? This is not, the business that we are in, they're non-owner occupied loans. The properties I'm talking about and what our borrowers are working on, they're non-owner occupied. It is a business decision, and that's what it has to be. So you've got to zoom out into what you're looking to do, and then you've got to just kind of strip away some of that ego also a little bit, ego and emotion. And in the long term, it does and will work out. But there are going to be hard days. It's work. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I knew you would have the perfect answer for that. We went deep and we got a deep answer. And as always, Jess delivers.
I'll be getting therapy after this, but it's fine. Diet Coke and a therapy, but it'll be okay. And I love it. And the so what of it all is we're having this conversation, and it is tough going in a lot of regards. When I say you have to have your head on a swivel, you need to be looking at every input as it relates to a project. It's not easy. There aren't a lot, as I've previously talked about, tailwinds. There aren't as many tailwinds as there once were, but like that's okay because I'm in it for the long term. I still believe in real estate with every fiber of my being, and of course bringing it back to Trius Lending Partners, and what we do and what we have to offer our borrowers and investors.
Yeah. And look, we also provide a very consultative service as well. And so we have
Exactly.
Jess here to answer questions. We have some very sophisticated and just savvy folks here that deal with this every day. And so we're happy to impart our knowledge and wisdom and experience and what we see to help our investors make great decisions about the types of loans that they're going to invest in, or our borrowers on maybe the advice of, hey, you should walk away from this deal. This just isn't a good deal. And we have those conversations every day. And we're still continuing to see a lot of trending markets, right? And we can
Mhm.
sort of dial in and help you understand, maybe this zip code's not so great, but a couple zip codes away, there's a lot going on here. We're seeing
Mhm.
a great deal of potential and volume in the Carolinas right now. Doing a lot of deals in the Carolinas, doing a lot of deals in Virginia. Pennsylvania still continues to be hot. Parts of Maryland as well. Maryland still is a very strong real estate market, Baltimore City aside. And, we've talked about that
Mhm.
on prior episodes, but Maryland itself has a very robust real estate market. I think to your point, Jess, right? Dialing in the numbers, probably have to be a little bit tighter with the budgets, probably have to allow for some contingencies and things
Mhm.
to arise and come up. But we're here to help with all of those decisions, not just to help you invest your money and make a nice rate of return or borrow money from us, but to make the right decisions on the right deal to set you up for success. That's what we're here for as well.
So speaking of partnership though, because I do think it's interesting, and you sit in this wholly different seat. The funny thing for anybody listening in today, Steve and I often don't get to talk that much during the week. So this will be the most we talk all week, which is kind of funny. But talking about partnership and working with our borrowers and like how we can help them, are there any cool deals you've seen coming where we are able to assist, or things we've been underwriting, projects, areas of growth that have kind of stood out to you as the COO really of Trius?
Yeah, we're seeing some fascinating conversion projects, right? So we had one this morning that's a motel being converted to multifamily. We've seen
Ooh,
a strip center. We're seeing a
that's
lot of
cool.
strip centers right now. Not huge, strips, but strip centers with a nail salon and a dry cleaner
Mhm.
and a takeout place. There's a lot of opportunities in these small commercial world that we're seeing, and we're
Are they
capitalizing.
rehabbing them or simply trying to acquire them really below what once was market rate? So what
So,
are
so
they
what we're
doing?
finding, there's a lot of landlords that are just tired of being landlords, and they're selling
Ah,
the strip center, and they're cash flowing. A lot of times, they're fully rented. One we
mhm,
looked at this morning, there's 5 individual businesses in this one strip.
mhm,
Each business has been there for more than 2 years, I believe. Cash flowing properties, solid businesses, and the owner just wants out, and they're selling the entire strip, and that's in South Carolina. We looked at the conversion projects that I mentioned earlier. That's in Pennsylvania. So we're open to different geographies and just unique different types of deals. Of course, we're
mhm,
here to fund the fix and flip, the buy and hold, single family, townhome. We're always here for that business, and that remains the core of our business. But there is an emerging market in the small commercial space, and we're here to help with those types of deals too. Provides an alternative investment for our investors. We have a
mhm,
lot of investors that are very interested in those type of opportunities, and there's also not a lot of true private money being lent on commercial
mhm,
deals. And I believe we've seen a void in the marketplace. We've filled that void in the marketplace. We're here to fund those deals with the same fast, flexible, reliable, hard money that we've been known for on the more residential side. So and it keeps us on our toes, right? It's fun to show up in the morning and not know what type of deal you're going to see.
Yeah.
Could be a cookie cutter fix and flip, could be a strip, could be a condo, could be a warehouse, could be a restaurant. We looked at a bagel
Yeah.
shop earlier today. So we're here to fund all those type of opportunities and keeps us on our toes and keeps it fun.
Do you think, so big, if you look at kind of the history of Trius Lending Partners, we'd experienced a lot of growth. The onset of COVID, conventional funding just tightens on, almost stops, right? And in that moment, Trius carries on smartly because of the power of our investors. Do you feel like we're heading into a little bit of that again, where banks are going to bank and private credit and private lending is going to be a real strong point to continuing volume and transactions and really, do you think seeing that at all?
Banks are going to bank. I love that term. I like that term. You just coined the new term, Jess.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Banks are
that
going
was
to bank,
good.
and they are.
We're here. We exist because banks are going to bank, right? Everything you don't like about your bank, the red tape, how slow the underwriting is, not being able to get answers, just an arduous process, asking for a million documents. We're here to not do any of those things, right? Again, our value proposition being fast, flexible, reliable, that is why we exist. That's why any hard money lender exists, to not be a bank. And so, yes, to your question, absolutely. And particularly in those type of deals that we just mentioned, right? Every hard money lender does the easy stuff, right? The fix and flip, the buy and hold, the single family. That's easy. Who's not going to do that deal? We also have, again, seen a void in the marketplace, filled the void in the marketplace, but if done so very strategically, we're not sacrificing the underwriting of our deals, how we go about keeping our investors safe, right? You know this better than anybody because you talk to investors every day. There's a reason we've been around for 2+ decades. There's a reason that no investor has ever experienced losing money with us. So we're not sacrificing the integrity of what we do. We're looking for strategic ways to capitalize on banks, on the marketplace. And I believe we're on the forefront of the movements of the market and the swings in the market, and being on the forefront allows us to have some foresight and adapt and do so very quickly to, again, provide the best service that we can for the folks that we serve. And that was, again, a long-winded answer to a great question. And
It's
wow,
okay, I get it. We both get into it.
We've been 30 minutes already almost. This has been
Well,
great. Give
yeah.
me your wrap it up for me. Give me your closing thoughts on the state of just what you feel like the market's doing heading now into summertime, right? We're already fully into spring. So heading into the summer, give me your Jess crystal ball of what we can all expect here going into the warmer months.
The sun is shining, and literally that's like it's a big deal, right? Like the sun is shining, and I think in that regard it does shine on real estate. It shines on transaction volume, both really nationwide, but in particular the East Coast had a tough winter. I am seeing things pick up. I'm seeing properties that would be great candidates for our borrowers start to actually list, which is fantastic. The preponderance of what we still lend on are single family homes. We love single family homes. So even though we've spent today talking about maybe some other opportunities, still single family homes are such a core part of what we do and who we are. So I love that. I love that the sun is shining. I love that we're seeing more transactions in that aspect, in that area. I think people are a little bit resigned to interest rates, and that's why I'm like, it's not necessarily that newsworthy. They've kind of settled in, and we know where they're at, and so I think it will carry on smartly in that regard. And I think we're seeing that at Trius. We're getting busy, and that's a good thing. So that's really my crystal ball as we kind of head
There we go.
spring, summer. How
Jess
about
said
you?
it. Jess said it. Now it's fact.
Yep.
My crystal ball is whatever Jess says. Nobody has their ear to the ground as much as you do. So if you say it, I have all the confidence in the world that it's going to come true. Look, we're busy. We continue to be busy. We continue to execute and do what we do and provide a great service and a great product to folks. So we're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to ebb and flow as needed. AI. We're going to get better at the adoption of AI and where that fits in with the organization, and then take all the things that we've learned that Josh and I brought back from the EOS conference, like we mentioned, and figure out where that fits within our business, and always striving to get better, always striving to learn, and just be the best that we can be for the folks that we support. So that's my 2 cents on where we're heading, and we'll be right back here next month having a similar conversation, and we'll see what the market's doing at that point, and what rates are doing, and seeing if Jess really does have that crystal ball and all her predictions come true.
And if anybody has anything they want us to debate, right? So if anybody has questions or they kind of want to hear us debate anything, please send it in, right? We'll be here in a month, and we love to take questions also.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, she's Jess. I'm Sless. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank y'all. Bye.